In a tense encounter on a quiet street, the air thickens with disbelief as a veteran FBI agent finds herself at the mercy of a belligerent cop's unwarranted harassment. The scene unfolds as racial tensions simmer, highlighting a disturbing reality faced by many. The officer's taunts cut deep, questioning her authority and legitimacy in a world where justice should be blind. But beneath this confrontation lies a twist that could change everything. As the agent calmly asserts her identity and purpose, the balance of power begins to shift. With the revelation of her true role and capabilities, the cop's demeanor falters, hinting at a deeper unraveling of his own secrets and motivations. Stay tuned as this gripping narrative delves into the complexities of race, power, and the unexpected twists that can alter lives in an instant. Watch as the story unfolds, leaving us on edge, eager to uncover what happens next in this unfolding saga of justice and consequence. The officer, clearly enjoying his position of authority, smugly questions the FBI agent's story. He leans into his accusations, dismissing her calm demeanor as arrogance. FBI. That's a good one, he sneers, looking her up and down. The agent remains composed, her sharp eyes locked on his, but her silence only seems to provoke him further. A small crowd begins to gather at a distance, some recording on their phones, sensing something isn't right. Whispers ripple through the bystanders. Who is she really? And why is the cop so intent on making an example of her? What the officer doesn't know is that this isn't her first encounter with someone like him. Beneath her quiet exterior, she's piecing together his behavior, his aggression, his defensiveness, and something doesn't add up. As the tension mounts, a single thought crosses her mind. What's he hiding? The cracks in his confidence are starting to show. As the officer continues his tirade, the FBI agent remains composed, her calmness unsettling him more than he lets on. His voice grows louder, more erratic, as he demands identification, claiming she's resisting authority. She reaches into her bag slowly, deliberately, to retrieve her credentials. But before she can hand them over, the officer slaps the badge out of her hand. The crowd gasps, the metallic clatter echoing against the tension-filled silence. The agent doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she turns back to the officer, her gaze steady and piercing. The crowd waits with bated breath as the pieces of the puzzle inch closer to falling into place. The agent tilts her head slightly, studying the officer as if piecing together a puzzle. The suited man's arrival has shaken him visibly, but there's something else, something deeper, lurking beneath his sudden change in demeanor. She finally responds to the man in the suit. "I'm fine," she says firmly, her eyes never leaving the officer. "But we're not done here." The officer stammers, "I was just following protocol." His tone has shifted from commanding to defensive, and his bravado now feels like a fragile mask. The suited man stands silently beside the agent, his presence adding weight to the moment. Then, one of the onlookers steps forward cautiously. "I know him," the man says, pointing at the officer. The crowd turns to him, their curiosity sharpening. He was involved in something shady a few years back, something that never made the news. The officer snaps, his voice shaking. "You don't know what you're talking about." But his outburst only deepens the unease rippling through the crowd. The agent narrows her eyes, the revelation triggering a new line of thought. What could he be hiding that's left him so rattled? She reaches for her badge, now resting on the ground where it fell earlier. Picking it up deliberately, she holds it up for everyone to see. "You might want to think carefully about your next move," she says, her voice low but commanding. "Because once I open this case, there's no going back." The officer takes a step back, his confidence now completely shattered. The crowd buzzes with speculation, and the tension swells, leaving everyone hanging on the edge of what's about to be revealed. The silence is deafening as the agent steps closer to the officer. The crowd, now fully invested, watches with wide eyes, sensing the confrontation is about to hit its breaking point. The suited man, standing like a sentinel, pulls out his phone and dials a number. "We need a team here immediately," he says calmly, his words sending a ripple of anticipation through the gathering. The officer's face is ashen, his hands trembling slightly at his sides. "This is a misunderstanding," he blurts out, his voice cracking. "I didn't mean." The agent cuts him off, her tone sharp and unwavering. "Save it. You've already shown who you are." She gestures toward the crowd. "And they've all seen it too." Just then, the black SUV door opens again, and two more agents step out, their presence commanding and deliberate. One of them hands the agent a tablet. She glances at the screen, her expression hardening as she scrolls. "There it is," she mutters, holding up the evidence for all to see. "A record of complaints, cover-ups, and, well, looks like you've been busy." The officer stumbles back, his attempt to deny it dying on his lips. The crowd murmurs in shock, their phones capturing every moment. But before anyone can react further, the agent takes one final step forward. "Here's the twist, officer," she says, her voice calm yet cutting. "You've been on our radar for months. I wasn't here by chance. I was here for you." The officer's eyes widen in horror as the suited man motions to the agents. They step in, handcuffing him as the crowd erupts in a mix of cheers and disbelief. The agent turns to the onlookers, her voice steady. "Justice doesn't look the same for everyone, but today, it's catching up." As the officer is led away, the agent's phone buzzes. She checks the message, her brow furrowing. Another name, another case. She pockets her badge and walks toward the SUV, leaving behind a crowd that will never forget what they just witnessed. As the SUV pulled away, the crowd began to disperse, their conversations filled with awe and disbelief. Many still clutched their phones, replaying the scene they had just witnessed. For some, it was a reminder of how power could be abused. For others, it was proof that justice could prevail, even when the odds seemed stacked against it. The agent sat quietly in the back seat, staring out the window. Her composed exterior didn't betray the weight of what had just unfolded. Another corrupt figure was off the streets, but she knew the fight was far from over. The system wasn't perfect, and every victory came with its own set of challenges. As the SUV merged into traffic, she received another message, a new lead, another case to solve. With a steady breath,